Hello everyone. Wanted to take a moment to share an update following our Christmas meal at the Isle of Wight College. It truly was a lovely afternoon. It was great to spend time with some of you in a really relaxed setting. We shared some laughs, we caught up, and enjoyed a really warm meal together. Moments like these really highlight how special our community is and how important it is that we create opportunities to connect and unwind. We did have a few last-minute logistical challenges around accessing the college site, but I want to say how appreciative we were of the college staff. They were very considerate and supportive given the circumstances, and their flexibility really helped ensure the event went ahead smoothly. And as always, our own staff and volunteer teams were exceptional on the day. Their coordination, patience, and attention to detail meant that everything ran seamlessly. A huge thank you to everyone involved. So much work happens behind the scenes to plan, organise and deliver these experiences, and it's their commitment that really makes events like that possible. I also really enjoyed talking with many of you about the exciting opportunities that are coming up in the new year, bouncing some ideas around. There's a lot to look forward to, and I'm so glad that so many of you are keen to be a part of the plans. We're now gearing up for even more festive celebrations in the weeks ahead, with additional Christmas meals taking place for our other member groups. So if you're attending one of these gatherings, I really look forward to seeing you there and keeping the festive spirit going. As always, try and stay warm, and I hope to see many of you very, very soon. Take care.
Here is this week's charity news for the 5th of December. We will be at Newport Minster tomorrow, December the 6th, with a festive craft stall. The fair runs between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m, so come along and buy some lovely goodies on offer.
Swimming at Medina is on Monday between 1:15 p.m. and 2 p.m. We have the whole pool, so whether you wish to swim lanes or just have gentle exercise in the pool, you will be made very welcome. The cost is £6 and transport is available, although limited. All members are very welcome to join. Our festive morning is on Wednesday when we draw our Christmas raffle. The morning starts at 10:30 a.m. Come along and enjoy festive refreshments with us all. The draw will take place at 11 a.m. During the morning we will be holding our silent auction. We have 3 lots up for auction: a weekend break to Warner's, Norton Grange for 2 people, 20 flyer tickets from Hover Travel, and a return ferry ticket from Red Funnel for a car and up to 7 passengers. If you would like to place a bid for any of the lots but unable to come in to Millbrook House, please call the office and we can put your name and bid on a paper slip.
Mix and Mingle is on Thursday at Millbrook House. We have a waiting list for this group, but if you're interested, please call the office to put your name down.
Our Story Writing Awards evening is on December the 12th at the Riverside Centre, Newport. There will be entertainment, raffle and tombola, and winning stories will be announced. The evening starts at 7 p.m, with doors opening at 6:30 p.m. The evening is free, so come along and enjoy a festive night.
On Saturday, December the 13th, we will be at the Aspire in Ryde, having a stall at the Christmas fair. Please pop along between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. and say hello to our wonderful volunteers who are giving up their time to help sell our gifts.
Our busy knitters have been delivering their wonderful Christmas novelties to us, and we will be selling them across the island and at Millbrook House from the 1st of December. This year we have a variety of goodies, all looking wonderful and making ideal Christmas presents. They are also available at Gurnard Press, The Crown Shorewell, Tandem Tea Rooms and Brystone Village stores.
Our Christmas tree is once again displayed in the Isle of Wight Pearl. This year our tree looks magnificent, with all our decorated spectacles on it. Please pop along and have a look and perhaps vote for your favourite tree.
Our Christmas cards are also available, selling fast this year with several designs already being sold out. They are only £3.50 for packs of 10, so once again please call the office if you wish to order.
We are once again running a Warner's break in April next year, as advertised in the newsletter. So if you are interested in joining us, please call the office and put your name down. If you would like to discuss it further, please call and speak to Susan.
This is Michael reading an article from Ireland Echo. Visit Isle of Wight scoops top award for Best Collective Destination. Visit Isle of Wight has been recognised for its work promoting the island as a destination for group travel, receiving a top accolade at the Group Travel World Awards in London. The event, held at the President's Hotel, celebrated the best in the group travel sector, with the Isle of Wight chosen as the winner by members of Group Travel World magazine. The publication is widely read by group travel organisers, coach operators, travel clubs and educational groups. The award highlights the Isle of Wight's appeal as a destination for organised group visits and acknowledges the collaborative efforts of local tourism, businesses and partners to grow this important market. Amy Summers, Head of Marketing and Sustainability at Visit Isle of Wight, has said, "It was a real honour to collect this award alongside Nick on behalf of the Isle of Wight. Group travel is an important market for the island and it provides the much-needed economic benefit during the extended seasons. My thanks to everyone that voted for the island and to Group Travel World for recognising our collective efforts within this key sector." The Isle of Wight was shortlisted earlier in the year and competed against other destinations including Liverpool, Wiltshire, County Durham, Southend-on-Sea and Discover Newmarket. Nick Waitman, Exhibitions, Trade and Sustainability Executive, has added, "Visit Isle of Wight has continued to fly the flag for the island within the groups and travel trade market, and this award is testament to the hard work of our industry colleagues on the island. Recently, we've launched our new groups and trade guide, which offers new itineraries and up-to-date group information, and we plan to launch a new trade e-newsletter in the new year. I look forward to continuing to encourage with off-island companies and group tour operators to provide the best experiences on the Isle of Wight." Visit Isle of Wight also coordinates the exhibitions partnership, working with the groups and travel trade sector in a joined-up approach to promote the island. This award reflects the ongoing commitment of local tourism operators to welcoming group travel and driving year-round visitor interests.
This is Patrina reading from the Island Echo. Isle of Wight NHS Trust pledges support for veterans and armed forces families. Hampshire and the Isle of Wight Healthcare NHS Foundation Trust HIOWH has signed the Armed Forces Covenant, confirming its commitment to supporting armed forces personnel, veterans, reservists, cadet volunteers and their families, both as a healthcare provider and as an employer. The signing took place aboard HMS Victory in Portsmouth. Neil Haywood, Chair of the Trust, signed on behalf of the organisation. Lieutenant Commander Steve Cass, RN, Commanding Officer of HMS Victory, signed on behalf of the Ministry of Defence. The Armed Forces Covenant is a national pledge to treat armed forces communities fairly and without disadvantage in access to public services. Around 175,000 people in Hampshire and the Isle of Wight have a connection to military service, nearly 9% of the local population. Many are patients, carers, or members of the NHS workforce. Neil Hayward, chair of the Trust, said, "We proudly serve one of the country's largest armed forces communities. Signing the covenant is about recognising that and acting on it, in the care we provide and in how we support our staff. The Trust's pledge includes fair access to NHS care, priority treatment for service-related conditions based on clinical need, armed forces-aware mental health and community services, active recruitment of veterans, reservists and military families, support for staff who serve as reservist or cadet leaders, participation in national events and partnership with military charities." The Trust already runs a dedicated Armed Forces programme and staff network, working with local military units, veteran support organisations and other NHS bodies. It plays a key role in delivering Armed Forces aware services across Hampshire and the Isle of Wight. It also supports Armed Forces charities, staff reservists and cadet volunteers, and works closely with Covenant partnership groups in the region. In August, HIOWH received a Veteran Aware accreditation from the Veterans Covenant Healthcare Alliance, VCHA, underlying the Trust's commitment to the HIOW Armed Forces community and pledging to deliver care that understands and respects the unique needs of veterans, serving personnel and their families. Read more about the Trust's support for the Armed Forces online. Supporting the Armed Forces community, Hampshire and Isle of Wight NHS Foundation Trust.
This is Michael reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. Regeneration work restarts at Yarmouth's Mill Copse to boost wildlife and flora. Work has restarted to return Mill Copse in Yarmouth to its natural native state, enhancing woodland for plants, wildlife and the local community. The western half of Mill Copse, managed by Wight Nature Fund, WNF, will see the removal of long-standing conifer trees planted after the Second World War. This follows earlier work on the eastern half, carried out around 35 years ago, which cleared non-native conifers and replanted native species, creating carpets of bluebells and other flora. The new regeneration aims to improve foraging habits for species like red squirrels and dormice, while reducing soil acidity caused by conifers, allowing native plants to thrive. The work will also use halo thinning around veteran oak trees to encourage a healthier mixed woodland. WNF has partnered with the local firm Arb Advice, which is carrying out the felling and using it as part of a City and Guilds arborist training course, helping educate the next generation of tree specialists on the island. The charity acknowledges that tree felling can cause concern for woodland visitors, but reassures the public that paths will be clearly signed with temporary closures for safety. Trustees say the work is part of a Forestry Commission-approved woodland management plan aimed at boosting biodiversity and restoring the woodland's natural beauty. Visitors to Millcops can expect a more vibrant, wildlife-friendly woodland in the years to come, with the added benefit of supporting local education and conservation efforts.
This is Patrina reading from Isle of Wight Radio. Local councils raise objections to proposed Aldi store in Ryde. 2 Isle of Wight town councils have voiced objections to plans for a new Aldi supermarket on Cosy Way, Ryde. Ryde Town Council and Nettleston and Seaview Parish Council have both raised concerns despite Aldi's claim that 93% of local residents support the scheme. The store is proposed for the former Nutric building at the Westridge Business Park and is expected to create around 40 jobs. Aldi's planning statement says the store would facilitate economic growth and be acceptable in terms of transport, highways, drainage, environmental and ecological impacts. Ryde Town Council welcomed the idea of greater shopping choice and lower cost options for residents, but said the developer's latest information does not fully address access and safety concerns around the Brading Road, Great Preston Road junction. They also highlighted difficulties with accessing the nearby McDonald's at peak times and pedestrian safety issues. Nettleston and Seaview Parish Council described the proposal as inappropriate and insufficiently mitigated, citing unresolved highways risks, potential burdens on nearby homes, environmental impacts, and increased noise and light pollution. They said the scheme conflicts with the emerging neighbourhood plan, which aims to protect residents from intrusive developments. Public consultation on the plans close on 5th of December, with a final decision expected by the 12th of December.
Hello, this is Madeline.
And this is Sam.
And we're reading the second part of the Talking News. High school lockdown. A school was put on lockdown on Wednesday morning, leading to sixth form parents being contacted in error. Medina College, Newport was locked down after 2 young people were discovered on site and school staff were unaware of their intentions. This led to text messages and emails being sent to parents and students at Medina. Parents of students at the Island Sixth Form in a different building around 1.4 miles away on Upper St James Street were also contacted. A clarification message was later sent out apologising. The 2 sites are both part of the HISP Multi-Academy Trust, and it's understood they use the same school management software to contact parents. A spokesperson for Medina College said the situation was managed swiftly and appropriately by school leadership in accordance with our established safety procedures. Parents and carers were informed as soon as the lockdown commenced, and again immediately after it was lifted, to reassure them the matter had been resolved. It was the second lockdown at the school in the last 2 weeks.
Red Funnel's new era begins after a landmark acquisition. Isle of Wight ferry operator Red Funnel has entered a new era after the government formally rubber-stamped a landmark deal that sees Nord Partners complete its acquisition of the company. The agreement, which will slash Red Funnel's debt by more than 75%, has put the cross-Solent operator on a stable financial footing, paving the way for major investment in new vessels, cleaner technology and upgraded terminals, the company has said in a statement on Monday. The move follows years of financial turbulence for the company. In September, it was announced private equity firm Njord Partners had agreed to purchase the entire share capital of Red Funnel's intermediate holding company. When the sale was announced, Red Funnel said significant indebtedness previously severely limited the company's ability to invest. The Isle of Wight's 2 MPs and council leader called for government intervention over the proposed sale of Red Funnel once the deal had been announced. Under the new ownership, Red Funnel said and Njord Partners have pledged to work closely with islanders, customers, staff and local stakeholders to deliver improvements. They say their priorities include reliable, punctual crossings year-round, fair, transparent pricing with better frequent traveller discounts, modern digital systems for seamless travel, cleaner, lower emission vessels tailored to island needs, investment in terminals and infrastructure at East Cowes, Southampton and across the Solent. Red Funnel Chief Executive Fran Collins said, "Securing Njord Partners' backing gives us the stability and confidence to progress with real ambition. Their expertise in maritime and tourism means we can now deliver the improvements islanders and visitors deserve." Jakob Kjellberg, founding partner of Njord Partners, echoed her sentiments. "Red Funnel is a great company and the Isle of Wight is a great place to live and visit," he said. "We're excited to invest in this lifeline service and create a platform for economic growth." Njord Partners describes itself as a UK-based investment firm that helps businesses grow and succeed, especially during times of change. The company specialises in providing long-term, flexible capital to family-owned businesses. Founded in 2013, Njord Partners manages over £1 billion of assets and has supported close to 30 mid-sized companies across Europe, of which 7 are in the UK.
Disabled woman told to leave pub due to her dog. A disabled island woman was left feeling like a criminal after being told to leave a Wetherspoon pub in Southampton because of her trained assistant's dog. Christina Loosemore went into the standing order on Southampton High Street with her mother Julie and brother James at around 3 p.m. on Sunday, November the 30th, to get something to eat. Julie said the pub was quite quiet and said the family did what they always do: find a table out of the way and check with nearby customers they are happy with the assistant's dog's presence. The family were about to place their order when the manager approached them wearing a body cam and told Christina she had to leave because of her dog Rico. Rico is a Labrador trained by Ability Dogs for Young People, a registered Isle of Wight charity which provides assistance dogs for young people with disabilities. Christina, who has cerebral palsy, learning difficulties and is registered blind, has had Rico for nearly 2 years. Julie said the situation left Christina very upset and mortified, adding that her daughter later told her she felt like a criminal. She said the family and Rico have visited the standing order many times previously. Julie said other pub patrons appeared horrified and some intervened, telling the manager he was in the wrong. Julie said the ordeal has shaken her daughter's confidence, leaving her afraid to eat out. She said Christina will likely never want to return to the standing order, and she herself would avoid the venue out of principle. Assistance dogs are protected by law under the Equality Act 2010, as they are recognised as auxiliary aids and access cannot be legally refused. J.D. Wetherspoon, spokesperson, said the company's policy allows guide dogs and assistance dogs trained by organisations accredited by Assistance Dogs UK. They said, Wetherspoon pubs are very busy and we have a legal duty to safeguard the health and safety of employees and customers. Carol Court, founder and CEO of Ability Dogs for Young People, said, it is reasonably rare for people with ability dogs to be stopped from entering venues, and she would often contact the manager directly to discuss it. The charity, founded in 2012, now has more than 120 dogs and trained puppies on the island. Carol said, all our ability dogs are highly trained to the same standards as required by ADUK. She described a similar incident last week at Ryde's Wetherspoon pub, where she said one of the charity's recipients was refused access, then begrudgingly admitted after showing ID and citing the Equality Act.
Property deemed unsafe after side collapses. A property in Sandown has been deemed unsafe after a wall collapsed. Emergency services were called to Royal Street on Monday morning after part of the building collapsed overnight, sending debris crashing onto a car parked in the driveway. Neighbours living opposite in Royal Street reported hearing a sound like thunder at around 4 a.m, unaware the side of a building had given way. Bricks, stone and rubble fell onto a black Mercedes estate. The property is on the corner of Royal Street and Melville Street and for years has traded as the Caprera Hotel. Police and fire crews arrived at around 7 a.m. and have cordoned off the area. An Isle of Wight Council spokesperson said, an inspector from the Isle of Wight Council Building Control Team visited the site on Monday morning and confirmed that the outer face of the stone wall to the property has collapsed. As a result, the house has been deemed unsafe for occupation. The owners are in contact with their insurers to arrange for the property to be made safe and for necessary repairs to be carried out. No injuries have been reported. Another neighbour said, thank goodness no one was hurt. It was quite a shock when I saw what happened.
Return of iconic locomotive. After an absence of 27 years, one of the Isle of Wight's most iconic diesel locomotives has returned home, having been restored to its former glory. Built in 1962, the Class 03179 shunter was transferred to the island in 1987 to haul engineering trains. Painted in Network South East livery of red, white and blue, it worked on the island for a decade before being sold in 1998. After being withdrawn in 2016, the locomotive was bought by father and son Andy West and Dale West and Andy Ashton. They spent nearly 9 years engine building, stripping everything out, repainting it and then putting it all back together again. It's kind of like a classic car, but on quite a large scale, said Dale. The trio said they knew the history of the locomotive and the opportunity to acquire it was too good to turn down. Andy Ashton had an association with the train through work. He said, my original employee was the company that brought it from the island back to the mainland. So I was at the depot where the locomotive went to when it arrived. Andy West, whose love of trains first started when he was 12, said, it's the only locomotive of this particular class painted in this particular livery. The colours are supposed to represent the colours of the Union flag. The train's arrival to the Isle of Wight Steam Railway was marked at a ceremony last Friday. Isle of Wight East MP Joe Robertson even had a go at driving it. The train will be in the attractions collection for an initial 10-year period. Mark Morgan Hughes, Chief Executive of the Steam Railway, told the county press, "It's really great. Those days where a new locomotive arrives at the railway are very special days, and this is a genuine Isle of Wight locomotive." Mr. Morgan Hughes said the superb restoration has even been shortlisted for the annual Heritage Awards in the Diesel Restoration of the Year category.
Mayoral elections could be postponed beyond next year. Elections for 4 newly created mayoralties in England, including on the Isle of Wight, will likely be postponed until 2028, the local government secretary has confirmed, amid accusations of an affront to democracy. The Conservatives, Reform UK, the Liberal Democrats, and local figures have accused Labour of cancelling democracy. The inaugural mayoral elections for Hampshire and the Solent, including the Isle of Wight, Sussex and Brighton, Norfolk and Suffolk, and Greater Essex will not take place until 2028, Steve Reed suggested on Thursday, as they need more time to complete their local government reorganisation. In a written ministerial statement, the Cabinet Minister said, "The government is also minded to hold the inaugural mayoral elections for Sussex and Brighton, Hampshire and the Solent, Norfolk and Suffolk, and Greater Essex in May 2028, with areas completing the local government reorganisation process before mayors take office. This is because devolution is strongest when it is built on strong foundations. Therefore, moving forward, we will ensure strong unitary structures are in place before areas take on mayoral devolution." But the move had drawn ire from Labour and opposition parties, with critics suggesting it looks suspicious amid speculation about a potential challenge to Sir Keir Starmer's leadership following defeat at the local elections. Elections in 9 council areas, the Isle of Wight, East Sussex, West Sussex, Essex, Thurrock, Hampshire, Norfolk, Suffolk and Surrey, were already postponed from this year to 2026 amid the reorganisation of local government in England. Reform's Deputy Leader Richard Tice told BBC Radio 4's Today programme, "Generally, it's dictators that cancel elections." Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch, the North West Essex MP, wrote on X, "Democracy isn't optional. We will oppose this every step of the way." Downing Street repeatedly declined to apologise for the changes, insisting they are about ensuring devolution in a pragmatic and structured way. A Number 10 spokesman said, "It's important that these mayors have the structures and the organisations in order to be able to hit the ground running from day one. The move is subject to statutory instruments, statutory consultations, and working with local authorities," he added.
Care home no longer inadequate. A care home under special measures has made progress, but inspectors still say it requires improvement. After rating Sandown's Autumn House residential home as inadequate twice earlier this year, the Care Quality Commission carried out its latest assessment in September and October. The home has failed to deal with 4 breaches to legal regulations highlighted in the CQC's last assessment, relating to consent, safe care and treatment, the safety of the environment and the service's governance. The CQC's current rating for the service requires improvement across the watchdog's safe, effective, caring, responsive and well-led categories. Improvements have been made, however, with the provider no longer in breach of 9 legal regulations. The report says, people and relatives expressed they were happy with the care and described staff as kind and caring. We found people's care and experiences had improved. For example, staff had time to interact with people and engage in meaningful discussions. However, further work was needed to ensure people had the opportunities to participate in their hobbies and purposeful activities.
Alleged political activity to be investigated by CC. Alleged political activity at a community centre has prompted the Charity Commission, CC, to open a compliance case. The government body said the move is to assess concerns raised with it relating to the Wootton Bridge Community Association, WBCA, a charity, registered number 1044320, which leases the Wootton Bridge Community Centre from County Hall. The update comes after it emerged that controversial commentator Katie Hopkins is due to speak at the centre on May the 23rd next year as part of her 3-range stand-up tour, according to her website. The centre has recently been adorned with Union Jack and St George's flags and promotional material for the Patriot Club Isle of Wight. The charity also came under fire from independent socialist councillor Jeff Brodie for hosting Advance UK leader Ben Habib, formerly a co-deputy leader of Reform UK. The CC said it was assessing concerns which would determine whether there was a regulatory role for it and any next steps. Political activity by charities can be legitimate, but there is a legal requirement for this to only be carried out in the context of supporting charitable purposes, the CC's guidance says. It also must not be the only activity they undertake, according to the guidance. On the Wootton Bridge Community Association's CC page, its first charitable objective reads, to promote the benefit of the inhabitants of Wootton Bridge and the surrounding area without distinction of sex or of political, religious or other opinions. Joe Robertson, the Conservative MP for Isle of Wight East, said, it is important that charities adhere to all relevant laws and regulations, however big or small they are. Now that the Charity Commission has said it has opened a compliance case relating to alleged political activity at Wootton Bridge Community Association, it should do so as swiftly as possible and then publish its findings. I will refrain from commenting while the Charity Commission is doing its work. Wootton Bridge's Liberal Democrat County Councillor Sarah Redrup said, the Charity Commission's involvement helps ensure charities are supported in meeting their duties, including around political neutrality. It's normal for venues to be hired out for a variety of events, including political ones, so long as the charity itself remains impartial. I will await the Commission's findings, which I hope will provide clarity and reassurance for the whole community.
Time capsule uncovered at Old Yarmouth Primary. A time capsule dating back to the 1970s has been dug up at the former Yarmouth Primary School. The premises of the school, which moved into its new home in Freshwater in December 2022, has been bought by the Yarmouth Community Foundation and will be turned into a maritime museum when it transfers its premises from Arreton Barnes. Izzy Turtle, museum supervisor of the Shipwreck Centre at Arreton, said, we first caught wind of there being a time capsule hidden somewhere on site in the summer. However, we asked around to staff, ex-pupils and neighbours and couldn't reach any consensus on where exactly it was or what it contained. We eventually whittled down a couple of locations and found it buried in a planter under an overgrown buddleia beneath the original Victorian National School's 1855 plaque. Upon opening it, we found that 3 different generations of people had buried, found and reburied the time capsule. The earliest was a cache of Victorian coins, hidden behind the original plaque, which was found in the 1970s when the plaque was removed due to building work. It was reburied with a commemorative 1977 £5 coin. This capsule was found again in 2000 by Dave Lowe, the son of the man who originally buried it in the 70s. It was then reburied with a commemorative 2000 £5 coin, along with a newspaper article about the reburying. 2 more articles celebrating the millennium and a handwritten note from the headmistress at the time, the late Sandy Toms, who passed away recently. Having now been found again by 2 of our volunteers in another 25-year increment, we will be adding our own commemorative 2025 coin in line with past tradition, as well as some memories from other volunteers who have been involved across both the site's time as a school and in its new era as a centre and museum for maritime archaeology.
Woman kicks store worker during £500 shoplifting incident. A woman stole more than £500 worth of items to order from TK Maxx last summer and kicked a store employee trying to stop her. Emma Knight of Honey Hill, Newport, was sentenced at the Isle of Wight Magistrates Court on Friday, November the 28th. In September, the 21-year-old admitted assault by beating, possession of cannabis, and 8 counts of shop theft in Newport between May the 23rd and August the 15th, all at TK Maxx. On August the 15th, Knight fled along Pyle Street after concealing items in her bag. A TK Maxx loss prevention officer chased and caught her. As he held her arm, Knight shouted she was pregnant and demanded he let go. When he insisted she return to the store with him to return the items, Knight kicked his shins and threw punches, which missed, said Serena Edwards, prosecuting. Police arrived and arrested Knight. A search revealed a tin of cannabis and stolen clothing still on their hangers. In total, she stole £508.64 worth of goods over the 3-month shoplifting spree, of which £465.99 was never recovered. Knight had a previous shoplifting conviction from January last year. Miss Edwards said her latest offences showed a degree of planning. For Knight, Oscar Vincent said the life of his client had become horrendous after a relationship breakdown, living day to day without income and in the early stages of pregnancy. She said so-called friends Knight relied upon persuaded her to steal items in exchange for small sums of cash, and even giving her a list of items to take. Regarding this scuffle, Knight claimed she had been manhandled and was left in pain. She was scared and struggling with her mental health. Sadly, she has since lost her child, Mr. Vincent said. Jobless Knight has since distanced herself from those associates. Magistrates imposed an 18-month probation order which includes 80 hours unpaid work and 10 rehabilitation sessions to help her manage finances, her mental health and housing issues. She must also repay TK Maxx £465.66 and £50 to the victim in compensation.
Care worker is scarred by dog. A care worker left permanently scarred after being mauled by a dog said, "The vicious attack has changed everything." Lauren Chandler was lunged at by a dog de Bordeaux while working at the Goldings Care Home Freshwater on July the 21st, 2024. The dog, named Winnie, bit through Lauren's lower lip and chin, leaving her with permanent facial scarring, a phobia of dogs, and ongoing trauma. Lauren's Unison and specialist serious injury solicitors Thompsons are now bringing legal action against her employer, the Isle of Wight Council. Court previously heard that this was not the first time Winnie had attacked someone, and it is argued that had risk assessments been in place before the incident, the council would have been aware. Lauren said she loves dogs and does not want to see them unfairly judged. But if there are signs a dog may be a danger to others, owners must act before it's too late. To hear in court that this dog had attacked someone before and yet was still brought into a care home with vulnerable residents was incredibly hard, she said. What if it had been one of the people I was looking after? They wouldn't have been able to defend themselves. On the day, Winnie had been brought in by a visitor, Jason Turner of Lugley Street, Newport. The 51-year-old originally denied being responsible for a dangerously out-of-control dog, but later changed his plea to guilty on a basis drafted for consideration by the Crown Prosecution Service. At the Isle of Wight Crown Court on Friday, September the 12th, Turner was handed an 18-month suspended sentence and ordered to pay £1,200 in compensation to the victim. Recorder James Bromwich imposed a contingent destruction order on the dog, meaning Winnie could still be destroyed. Following the sentencing hearing, Lauren said, "I've worked in care for years because I love helping people. I've always loved animals too, and I still do. But this attack has changed everything. I've been left with scars that I see every day, but it's the loss of confidence and the constant fear that really stays with me." The Isle of Wight Council said it would not be appropriate to comment on an ongoing legal matter.
Unprovoked flip-flop kicking attack seen by off-duty officer. A man who launched an unprovoked street attack, kicking his victim in the head while wearing flip-flops, has been sentenced. Sean William Austin of Broughton Road, Newport, appeared for sentencing at the Isle of Wight Magistrates Court on Friday, November the 28th. The 33-year-old admitted actual bodily harm, 2 counts of possessing a bladed article, and cannabis possession. The assault happened at around 3 p.m. on April the 10th, outside Sandown Conservative Club on Station Avenue. Austin, homeless at the time and currently unemployed, had a disagreement with a man he had known for 3 years. It escalated suddenly and violently. Austin kicked the man in the head and face during the attack. Blows delivered while wearing flip-flops, said Serena Edwards, prosecuting. An off-duty police officer travelling on a bus with his young daughter witnessed the assault. He saw Austin deliver the kicks and flee the scene. The officer got off the bus, helped the injured man back to his accommodation, and called an ambulance. The victim suffered bruising and lasting pain to his head and cheek. Police launched a search and found Austin 2 days later in Sandham Gardens, Sandown. Inside his tent, officers discovered a Stanley knife, a smaller lock knife, and cannabis. Austin refused to speak in the police interview. The court also heard Austin later breached bail conditions for failing to report to Newport Police Station on November the 3rd. For Austin, Tom Cook said his client had been homeless for 3 months, and the knives were never brandished. There is no question of the knives being used to cause fear, he said. Cook added that the kicks were delivered in flip-flops, not with a shod foot, and Austin was heavily using heroin at the time. He said Austin was very disappointed with himself and willing to compensate the victim. Presiding Magistrate Andre Osborne called the attack unprovoked and ordered Austin to pay £100 compensation. He was handed 18 months probation. Court costs and surcharge were waived due to Austin's debts of more than £4,500.
New Freeman of Sandown. Long-serving former councillor and Sandown resident Heather Humby has become an honorary Freeman of the town. At an event with family, friends and fellow councillors at the Broadway Centre on Tuesday, she was presented with an illuminated manuscript by the Mayor, Alex Lightfoot, in recognition of her decades of tireless devotion to Sandown and its residents. Heather was instrumental in the establishment of Sandown Town Council in 1983, becoming its first mayor and later town clerk. Until her retirement earlier this year, she had served Sandown as a councillor for 52 years, starting in the days of Sandown Shanklin Urban District Council. She donated one of her special possessions to Mayor Alex Lightfoot for the town council to keep as a reminder of its past, a surviving stone from the school demolished a decade ago to make way for the present-day Broadway Centre. Heather had rescued and illustrated the stone herself.
Travel operator falls into liquidation. A travel operator and school contract provider has ceased trading after falling into liquidation. Lighthouse Travel, previously Island Coach Services Limited, closed last month, November. In a statement on its now shut down website, the business blamed the economic climate for its closure. Before shutting, the company had provided school transport for the likes of Ride School. It is described as an executive private hire and school contract provider on the south coast. According to Companies House, Caroline Duke Glover was appointed director of the business in October 2022. Although it is unclear exactly how many staff are affected, accounts for 2024 show there was an average number of 11 employees throughout that year. A statement from the firm reads, "We would like to thank all of our loyal customers over the years and all of your continuing support through this difficult time." Lighthouse Travel closed as of November the 17th.
Dog warning after attack on a cygnet. There is a warning to keep dogs on leads around wildlife after a baby swan was attacked in freshwater. Charity Friends of the Animals was called to the causeway on Saturday, November the 29th. A couple were walking by the river when they witnessed an off-lead dog jump into the mud and attack a cygnet. Upon arrival, the swan was found to have a drooping wing. To entice it closer, one of the charity's volunteers, Ted, decided to offer it food, but another off-lead dog came by, scaring the birds away. Accompanied by the charity's Jan and Kath, Ted returned 2 hours later and managed to capture the cygnet. It was found to have a nasty puncture wound on the body, affecting the muscle which helps keep the wing in its normal position. The cygnet's wound was flushed and packed with medical honey and then given anti-inflammatory analgesia and a covering antibiotic, the charity said. Thankfully, as the bird was rescued so soon after the attack, it is expected to make a full recovery. The charity said this is the second dog attack on a swan in November. The first was along the River Medina a couple of weeks ago, which resulted in the bird being put to sleep. Pleading with the owners to keep dogs on leads around other vulnerable animals, the charity said, "We all love our dogs, especially here at Friends of the Animals, but we never forget that with ownership comes responsibility. We see so many cases of dogs attacking and sometimes killing wildlife, livestock and other dogs and cats too, and most of these attacks are entirely avoidable. If you are walking your dog alongside any pond, lake or waterway, please secure your dog, as even being chased can cause real distress that can stop birds feeding and getting the vital energy they need to get them through cold winter nights."
Sailor, 74, died during a round-the-world trip. A 74-year-old sailor who spent 3 years circumnavigating the globe died off the Isle of Wight after he became entangled in a faulty winch, an investigation has revealed. New Zealand national Lyle Babington suffered catastrophic injuries when a rope caught his hand. It pulled him into the winch on board his 17-metre sailing vessel Molly. The incident happened shortly after midday on August the 5th, 2025. The vessel was around 3 nautical miles off the Needles when it occurred. Crew members immediately attempted to shut off the winch using its control switch, but the investigation heard that Mr. Babington was rapidly pulled tighter into the winch drum. The inquiry was carried out by the Marine Accident Investigation Branch, MAIB. By the time the crew managed to stop the winch, the skipper was unresponsive. The Yarmouth RNLI lifeboat was sent to the area following a Mayday call, while police, ambulance crews, paramedics and the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Air Ambulance stood ready at Yarmouth Harbour as the situation unfolded offshore. RNLI crews and a rescue helicopter team worked to free Mr. Babington from the winch. During the rescue effort, the device unexpectedly activated again, causing the sailor to fall onto the deck. Despite attempts to save him, he was pronounced dead at the scene. The MAIB investigation found the winch system had a known defect affecting its controls, causing it to sometimes continue running even after the switch was released. No corrective action had been taken, the report said. Mr. Babington had been living aboard Molly during his round-the-world voyage, picking up crew in various ports. One crew member had been with him intermittently for about 5 months, while the other 2 only joined the day before the accident. On the morning of the incident, Molly had left West Wittering on her way to Poole. The accident happened as Mr. Babington attempted to raise a sail. Following the findings, no further action has been taken, the MAIB said.
Crying out for development, 74 home plan. A 74-house development could be built on the site of a former school. Last Thursday, planning consultancy DPP hosted a public consultation event at Brown's Golf Course Cafe on draft plans to redevelop the former Sandham Middle School site, Perome Way in Sandown. The school closed in 2011, and since the demolition of the buildings, the site has remained vacant. Held on behalf of developer Strategic Green Land, the meeting gave residents the chance to look over the proposals, which include a mix of 2, 3 and 4 bedroom units, and share their views. The draft plans are for 65% market housing, 35% as affordable homes, along with landscaping and parking areas throughout the site. They also include vehicle access from the fairway, as well as a pedestrian and cycle link to the south of the site connecting to Perone Way. Speaking to the local democracy reporting service at the event, Sandown and Lake Football Club representatives Steve Hobday and Steve Berry welcomed the plans for an abandoned area which was crying out for the development and would help in the current housing situation. Benefits, they said, it could bring to the club included more players and volunteers in the future and possible funding opportunities. Asked how the local community had responded to the proposals, Nathan Slater, principal planner at DPP, said, "Probably mixed. I think some concern around what's happening with some existing trees. There's been some positives about the design of the houses. Some people have said they approve of the design, others not so. It's a subjective thing to a certain degree. And some positives on providing the type of housing that's on the site. There is a feeling that there is a need for housing, but balanced with other comments that 74 units is too much for the site. We feel the site can accommodate that amount of development." Mr. Slater said a finalised planning application would be submitted to the Isle of Wight Council in early 2026. Sandown Town Councillor Paddy Lightfoot said, although it was very welcome to see plans progressing and more housing is needed, residents had commented that there is no single bed accommodation, and he hoped the developer would adjust the plan to include some.
10 new extremely affordable homes. Plans to demolish a former social services building and build 10 new extremely affordable homes were accepted by the Isle of Wight Council. On November the 25th, the Planning Committee voted for the Council's outline proposal to demolish a redundant social services headquarters at 17 Fairley Road in Newport. The building will be replaced with 2-bedroom apartments within a single structure. County Hall's Planning Development Manager Russell Chick told the Chamber the homes would be selling around the £100,000 mark and would be extremely affordable for local residents. Before the committee meeting, planners recommended the application be conditionally approved subject to legal agreement for the 100% on-site affordable housing and a Solent Special Protection Area habitat mitigation contribution for bird conservation. 9 councillors voted for this recommendation. A report from council officers said it is concluded that the minor negative impact of loss of the existing building would be outweighed by the substantial social benefits of affordable housing delivery as well as the moderate economic and environmental benefits. Economic benefits they identified include the homes likely being more energy efficient than older housing and buildings, helping reduce energy costs, and the proposal's support for the construction industry. Those relating to the environment include opportunities for enhancing site landscaping and biodiversity. The existing building at the site is at risk of becoming derelict and has ongoing issues with dry rot, a statement submitted by the council said. This site is part of the approximately 60 hectares of island brownfield land suitable for redevelopment. As this site is council owned, funding from the Brownfield Land Release Fund will be utilised to allow the council to clear this site, it said. One member of the committee, the Empowering Islanders Group's Councillor Peter Spink, opposed the plans and said people in temporary accommodation would not benefit. He said he would be voting against after being told the proposal was for discount market sale housing rather than social rent housing. Councillor Spink said, "Council-owned land gives us the best opportunity of taking people off the housing register. We get affordable housing through private development, not through council-owned land. We have a policy that we are choosing to ignore.
Inquest findings after death of a missing woman. An inquest has concluded into the death of a Bembridge woman whose disappearance in September 2023 prompted a major multi-agency search on the island. The inquest into the death of Gillian Grace Burns, 64, was held without a public hearing under Section 9C of the Coroners and Justice Act 2009. Mrs. Burns was last seen late on September the 17th, 2023, at her home in Bembridge. Police launched an urgent appeal the following day, with officers focusing searches around the Culver Down area. A large multi-agency operation quickly formed, involving police, Isle of Wight Search and Rescue, Bembridge and Ventnor Coast Guard rescue teams, and crews from Sandown and Shanklin Lifeboat who patrolled the coastline. On September the 19th, emergency teams discovered the body of Mrs. Burns in Nostrils Cave, around 50 metres west of Horseshoe Bay. Coroner Caroline Soumaret found that Mrs. Burns had fallen from a significant height, suffering multiple traumatic injuries, which were recorded as the medical cause of death. Mrs. Soumaret formally concluded that Mrs. Burns took her own life.
And now on to Wight memories and nostalgia with Harking Back with Emma Brennan. You can't bank on anything these days, there are few left. Emma once saved pennies in a jar to be exchanged at the bank, but now our cash no longer seems to be king. When we were children, we always laughed about people who kept cash in tins under their beds because they didn't trust banks. Nowadays, when it's not only economic downturns and stock market crashes that threaten our hard-earned pennies, but also cyber criminals and scammers, stashing your cash in a biscuit tin doesn't seem like such a bad idea. Although, like most people, I have been forced down the route of internet banking, I have much sympathy with the older generation who do not have online access and wouldn't use it if they did. What they really want is a local branch of their bank that they can go into and talk to a real person, not a bot. But, as my dear cousin recently pointed out, there are very few options for us old-fashioned sorts. We had the conversation because she is currently undergoing medical treatment that could apparently affect her fingerprints. I jokingly said, maybe that would be a good time to rob a bank, to which she replied, that's if we could find the bank these days. They are a rarity. The accuracy of this statement was brought into sharp focus the following week when my mum wanted to actually go to the bank to find out if a payment had been made. She still receives paper bank statements and writes every transaction in a cash book, but these statements only arrive once a month, which leaves her guessing in between. A search for any local branches still operating within a 5-mile radius then ensued. As with so many other small towns, I soon discovered that the main branch had closed down. Instead, they offer a local pod in a public building, only on certain days and times. The bank's website informs that there are no counter or cash services available, which makes me question if you can really class it as a bank. The demise of physical bank buildings is evident across the town where I grew up. In the 1970s and 80s, the buildings occupied by the main players, Lloyds, Barclays, NatWest and Midland, were very grand and placed in prominent positions, so there was no doubting their importance. In fact, such was the perceived standing of banks that we were strongly encouraged by our school careers advisors to pursue safe jobs as clerks, cashiers or tellers. One of my older cousins followed the advice and worked in the bank when she left school. I thought it was a pretty posh job, as she got to wear a uniform not unlike an air hostess, and sat behind an impressive glass screen counting out wads of cash. If you were really brainy, you could even aspire to be a bank manager. Not the girls, of course, it was the 1970s. Your bank manager was someone of great local standing, an upstanding citizen you could get to witness legal documents for you. But, along with the buildings themselves, you'd be hard pushed to find anyone to physically hand a pen to these days. In truth, the demise of high street bank branches is due to the completely different way we pay for things. I was brought up to believe cash is king, but it seems that is no longer the case. I offered cash recently because I thought it would save the shop from incurring fees. However, I was told it costs them more to deposit the cash in the bank than it does for a card transaction. Surely that can't be a good thing.
When we were young, if you didn't have the cash to pay in a shop, you paid by cheque, which had to be backed up with a card bearing your signature so it could be verified. To actually pay by card, the shop assistant had to go through the palaver of operating a manual card imprinter machine. Your card was placed face up in the device with a carbon copy sales slip. A bar mechanism was slid across which imprinted the embossed card details onto the paper. The customer signed the slip and the merchant sent their copy to the bank to be processed. In these days of digital transactions, you don't even have to put in a PIN number. Simply hold your card chip against the machine. It's way too easy to spend your money, and this has all happened in a relatively short space of time. Given that when I was a kid, before we were old enough to have a bank account, if we wanted to purchase anything by mail, we had to buy a postal order from the post office to pay for it. Fast forward 50 years, and the situation couldn't be more different. Around 30% of people shop online instead of in a physical shop, with transactions carried out electronically behind the scenes, and no money physically changing hands. Your cash seamlessly gets moved from your bank account into the vendor's account. As I said, it's all way too easy. Call me old-fashioned, but I miss the days when you saved up all the small change you amassed through the year. I can remember religiously saving coins until I had a large jar full. Then, just before Christmas, I would get Dad to take me to his bank for some little plastic bags, count the coins out into pounds before getting them weighed and exchanged for notes, including £1 notes in those days. Anyway, I took Mum to the Glass Pod local bank hub, which is opposite the shop where she worked after she left school in the early 1950s. I asked what memories she had of the banks in those days. She told me the shop owner would put all the cash from the day in a drawstring bag and he would say, "Take this to the bank, miss." For the accounts, I had to take a book that the bank signed. The manager was Mr. Murray, and he was such a gentleman, a proper professional bank manager. People of my age don't know where to put their money to be safe these days. It seems you have to be suspicious of everyone, which is a real shame.
And now on to my view, starting with what will it take to regain trust. Nord Partners has finalised its acquisition of Red Funnel. Jakob Kjellberg, for the new owners, has promised to work hard to improve the business performance and regain the trust of all stakeholders. That sounds encouraging, but trust has not simply been misplaced, it has been systematically eroded over years by a leadership culture that prefers confident statements to inconvenient truths. The sale itself illustrates the problem. Islanders and staff were repeatedly assured that the company was not for sale after we reported it was in March 2024. The truth came out when a prospective purchaser wrote to our elected representatives in September that year, revealing the business had been on the market since February. In September, we were told Red Funnel had new owners, new stability, and new investment. In truth, the deal could not complete until the government approved it. The island, the press, company's staff were told a transaction had taken place when it had not. The pattern of over-promising and under-delivering has defined Red Funnel in recent years. The most striking example is the much-heralded renewal of the Raptor car ferries. In May 2024, islanders were told that designs were ready and tenders were imminent for the most significant investment in a generation. But at the end of 2025, there are no tenders, no shipyards booked, and no ships on order. When the Njord acquisition was first announced, there was no mention of new vessels. Plans apparently essential to Red Funnel's future had evaporated. Now, weeks later, there is a passing reference to new ferries, but no firm commitment or timeline. Njord is rumoured to still be seeking finance to support their latest investment. Similarly, the Hive ferry was promised back by the end of summer. Yet winter is here and there is no service. The accounts have not been filed for 2023 or 2024. Passengers who rely on the service are left in the dark. The Artemis EF-24 flying ferry was billed in as transformative in July 2024 and due into service late 2025. The most recent update said training was due this month, with entry into service at the beginning of 2026. December has arrived with no training, no service date, and no explanation. The East Cowes redevelopment was granted planning approval in November, after more than a decade of announced, re-announced and repackaged redevelopment schemes. None of them delivered. It hardly inspires confidence, even in property development, quite aside from the more important business of a credible plan for renewal of the fleet. Financial woes compound the uncertainty. A £196 million loss in 2023, auditors' warnings, and late filed accounts. It's been quite a performance. Bold promises up front, followed by excuses, or even worse, silence afterwards. This is a private company, but it delivers a lifeline service. No wonder our two MPs, along with many others, are so sceptical. Njord says it wants to rebuild trust. That is welcome, and we must all hope they mean it. But trust cannot be rebuilt on the same foundations that destroyed it. That requires honesty, not PR spin, delivery, not delay, and transparency, not evasion. And it raises an unavoidable question for the new owners. Can the company truly rebuild trust under the same leadership? After years of empty promises, islanders are entitled to ask why they should believe Red Funnel's many problems are suddenly all fixed now, when, for so long, its words have proved false.
And from Holmesy, Oscars and Grammys, we can do it. In 1996, Anthony Minghella lifted his Oscar. I told my kids, if a boy from Ryde can do that, you can't let coming from here be your excuse. Unusually, they must have listened to me, because they're all doing well now, and why not? I've previously mentioned my own modest background. My granddad drove buses and lorries. I mostly grew up on council estates, and I had free school meals, but I was never short of ambition. I've just seen my youngest son Henry and his amazing bandmates at the Royal Albert Hall. Wet Leg are completing a sold-out UK and Ireland tour before heading back to America and Australia. They're a phenomenal live band with 3 Grammy nominations this year, having already won 3. Their success is a dream coming true. Yet it began on small island stages, with barely anyone watching. The talent was there, but it needed ambition, belief and opportunity. John Giddings is always supportive of island musicians, and he's booked Wet Leg for the main stage in 2026. A few weeks ago, I posted a video of some Glastonbury carnival floats on a local Facebook page captioned, "This is how you do carnivals." Over 300 people reacted, many negatively. I was most disappointed by one comment which said, "I shouldn't have posted it because islanders shouldn't know how much better things are in other places." That person appeared to genuinely believe that people here should have lower expectations. Others defended what we have already, claiming it's good enough. Arts Council England recently awarded £704,000 to support creative activities across the island. Couldn't some of it be used to raise our game at carnivals? I remember a head teacher telling me they'd only taken a job here because we're not as ambitious as parents in Kent. Honestly, is it any wonder that the island schools are rooted at the bottom of the National League tables? Many of us have a negative St Mary's story. I've often heard it called St Scary's. You may recall my July refer to urology there. My NHS app said the GP suspected cancer. I've had a few tests, but I still await the face-to-face appointment they say I need. I've chased them often, but I still haven't a clue if I have urological cancer or not. Potentially I've lost 6 months of remedial treatment. I'm about to go on holiday, so nothing will likely happen now until January. Should I die waiting, I urge my successors to join the queue of litigants and sue the hospital management for every penny. You may recall I was recently elected to the board of the island's tourism organisation, Visit Isle of Wight. Thank you to those that voted for me. What I've learned so far seems pretty grim. Elections to allow bid payers to choose their representatives weren't held, and I believe many had been wasted. Those supplying the money were deliberately excluded for years. No one has any answers. I can only assume those in charge preferred choosing their own directors in breach of the company's rules. VIOW ignored complaints. At our first meeting, one director had the temerity to tell the newly elected board members we needed training. So we understood how to run a compliant company. We could hardly believe our ears. Anthony Minghella showed us what ambition can achieve. Wet Leg are proving it again. The island has world-class talent and potential, and we owe it to our young people to raise expectations. Because if a boy from Ryde can win an Oscar and an island band can achieve worldwide fame, then surely the rest of us can stop accepting good enough and start insisting on the best.
And now on to what's on, starting with Christmas shopping weekend at Kohlrabi from the 19th to the 21st of December. Lots of special offers in the farm shop for the Christmas shopping weekend. Taste the samples of local products to try all weekend. Come and see our pop-up Christmas shop for traditional decorations and gifts. Children's crafts all weekend. Come and make a Christmas card or picture. Telephone 01983 898 543 or visit kohlrabi.org at Core Road, Ryde.
Lights dazzle in Newport display. A spectacular Christmas display lit up the sky near Newport on Sunday. Thousands of lights are used in the charity display put on by Matt Witham for the past 12 years. Matt explained, I can't say for definite how many lights are in the display, but there are around 12,000 on the palm trees alone, so I'd estimate there are around 50,000 plus. The secret is to pack them away carefully each year, and I then check them over as I start putting them up, and I can refresh them if they are faulty. I don't really set a budget on how many I use, because if I'm doing a specific charity, then I include a special display. This year, any money raised will be donated to the Newport and Carisbrooke branch of the Royal British Legion to celebrate the 80th anniversary of VE Day. The display will be switched on each day between 4:30 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. until the end of the year, with the exception of December the 8th and 9th and the 15th and 16th to give me a break. I normally raise between £2,000 and £2,500, so I'm hoping for another good year with this latest display.
And now on to readers' letters, starting with a letter from Penny Redman of Cowes, titled "We Need More Council Houses." I wonder how many more times we will have to endure the oft-repeated fallacy that the island has a housing crisis. A quick look at Rightmove on Friday revealed that there are 225 properties for rent, admittedly many of them high-end. However, there were 663 properties costing less than £200,000, 669 available in the £200,000 to £300,000 bracket, and a further 763 costing between £300,000 and £500,000. It seems to me that the housing supply is not that dire. If we need anything, it is council houses.
Lack of progress on football ground from Jason Doughty of Binstead. What is happening with Newport Football Club? I'm not a football fan. I do not profess to enjoy watching nor playing the sport, but I of course recognise and respect those that do. Therefore it saddens me greatly every time I drive over the racecourse roundabout to view the complete lack of progress with the new football club ground. Has it been 3 years now since St George's Park closed? Soon a whole generation will have missed out on having a Newport Football Club home. Lord knows Newport does not have a lot else going for it. Why have we allowed greedy developers to demolish and progress their vital retail development before completing the new football club ground?
Value Service and Care Industries by Janet Weston of Cowes. I was interested to read the letter from Angela Harris in Ryde, County Press, 28th of November 2025. I too wonder what has gone so disastrously wrong with island education over the years, and can only agree about the degree of poverty and the ferry services, also a factor in the reduction in tourism presumably. However, I do wonder whether Miss Clark ever uses shops or hairdressers, fills a car with fuel, uses her doctor's surgery, the hospital, knows anyone in a care home, or has anything to do with anywhere, in fact, where people are in a service or care industry. Perhaps, in her opinion, everyone should aspire to be a hedge fund manager or some such. Perhaps we should be teaching our students more basic values in life, so that they do not grow up thinking that success is just something which equates to a job which makes them lots of money. And if people in service or care industries were better paid and valued by the rest of society, perhaps then more young people would aspire to join them.
We fear for our dog amid noisy fireworks from Chris Porter in Ventnor. I'm writing regarding the article by reporter Oliver Dyer in the County Press on the 21st of November entitled "Fireworks Shock Killed Beloved Dog." My heart goes out to Viv Lee, whose golden retriever Molly was so scared by the explosions from a private fireworks display at the back of her property in Northwood that she died. Our dog Shiloh, 11, is also totally petrified by loud explosions. In Ventnor we have the display from the Spyglass with its massive rocket bombs to cope with, as well as a near neighbour who lets off similarly powerful fireworks. We took Shiloh out in the car before the Spyglass display was due to start on November the 5th, but came back to find the display was delayed until the Saturday after. On the Saturday we did the same, arriving back about 25 minutes after the display was due to start, but instead arrived home to find the display in full flow. It must have been late starting. Shiloh was so scared this year that she had diarrhoea overnight, and taking her for a last walk at night was a charge down the road and back with not a thought to relieving herself. The diarrhoea lasted days, and the panicked walks at night a similar time. We are scared for her for this New Year's Eve. There should be a ban on bomb-like fireworks. There is no need for them anywhere.
Treasured Memories for Children and Families by Father Christmas, North Pole. What a magical atmosphere on Monday. Along with my elf, I visited the Newport Baby Cafe, which is run jointly by the Birth Hub and the Salvation Army. It is a welcoming and inclusive group for parents and their little ones from the 3rd trimester and beyond the 1st year. Baby Cafe volunteers include a breastfeeding expert, a retired midwife, a pre- and post-natal physiotherapist, and a doula. It is an impressive volunteer group who all give their free time supporting parents as they adjust to life with their little one. A new Christmas experience for all, especially the youngest baby at a mere 4 weeks old. Babies and toddlers enjoyed interacting with Santa and his elf, all practicing their social skills. Many waving, lots smiling, holding Santa's finger, trying hard to improve their motor skills. Although these very young children may not fully understand Christmas, this festive experience will no doubt help build joyful memories. Photos with Santa and other volunteers will become treasured keepsakes for families, marking the child's early festive experiences. A truly joyful time helping families establish traditions and happy memories. I wish you all a truly memorable Christmas.
Dismayed after mail dumped from Ken Abernethy at Kelbourne. My neighbour has just given me a stack of assorted mail addressed to me at the correct address, but dumped at a nearby cottage. This is our Royal Mail, not some twopence halfpenny courier service that seems to prevail nowadays, but our first-class Royal Mail. I am dismayed, but who gives a toss? And that's all we've got time for today, so it's goodbye from Madeline.
And it's goodbye from Sam.
The BBC In Touch programme follows, and the scaffolding news follows that.
Hello. Today's programme is all over the shop. Well, all over 2 shops to be precise. One is run by a visually impaired woman. The other is run specifically for visually impaired people. Both of these circumstances are quite unusual, and even stranger, both are close to each other in East Midland High Streets. Well, we'll be visiting Tilly Downer. She is the blind stylist in Castle Donington later, but we start here in the centre of Nottingham. We're just actually in the old Market Square. The shop here is called Seeing Solutions, and for most of us as blind people in the past, to buy anything specifically for ourselves, we've had to go to organisations like the RNIB or voluntary organisations, or send away for it. The idea that you can drop into a shop in the high street or just off it just doesn't happen. So we're just going to try and find it. It's just down a little alleyway here.
We're in between 2 buildings, 2 shops, And there is a sign above the alleyway which says Seeing Solutions, Technology for Blind and Partially Sighted People. I think that's where we need to be.
Hello there, just watch this step.
Are you Alex?
I am Alex, welcome to Seeing Solutions.
Hello, nice. Well, we found the shop, we're inside, and I'm with Alex Ward, who runs Seeing Solutions with his father, Philip. I mean, just give me an idea of what you have here.
So we've been running for over 20 years now as a company. We specialised in magnification and text-to-speech technology with some other products such as obstacle locators, mobility aids. Since we've opened here, there's been much more demand for more holistic products, so things to help at home, phones and talking watches and things like that. And so our range has just been expanding and expanding.
Now, you sell things. What about training? Because presumably people come in not knowing necessarily, they might know what they want it to do, but they don't necessarily know what the piece of equipment is.
That's right. So the first thing we do is sit down with someone and really find out what they want to do. Then we can match them up with some technology that helps them do that and let them try a few things. It really is crucial that people get hands-on with these pieces of technology, because it's all very well looking online or even at an exhibition. You get to try it, but not for very long. And then after they've settled on a product that really works for them, all the training is included, and we include lifetime support for products as well.
But there would be a chance to try all this stuff out initially before you made a purchase.
That's why we're here. Yes, it's really important for people to be able to try it.
Hello.
How can I help?
I've got a magnifier that I've had for quite a long time, but it's getting a bit old now, and I wondered whether I could have something that was a bit newer.
Absolutely.
It's a lucky electronic magnifier, so...
Brilliant. So we can have a sit down and try some different things out, see what you need and what's going to help you the most.
Okay.
Right, so you wanted an updated magnifier. I've got one here called Luna S.
Okay.
So you can pop it over the text, and you've got magnification adjustment on the side here and a button to change the colour.
Okay. So it doesn't have an arm like my Lucky has?
It doesn't have an arm. We do have ones like that. If you want
Yeah.
to try one of those,
Okay.
I can get one of those
I'll
if you'd
have
like
a
to
look
try
at
that
this
one.
first.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What's that one?
That's the Luna 8, so slightly bigger in form.
Catherine, you've come in to look at magnifiers. What difference does it make to you having a shop like this where you can actually come and look at stuff?
It is lovely. You know, we've been in, my husband and I, and there's been other things that we've purchased as a result of coming in, and we wouldn't have known about them if we'd not come in.
Can you give me examples? Things that you've discovered?
Well, my husband discovered I think it's called the mini guide. It buzzes to let you know your distances. So, like,
Oh yeah.
he's gone round his house without bumping into anything, which is remarkable, because normally he bumps into everything. So, the one thing that I did purchase was I can't remember what it's called. It's like a little torch that you clip onto your cane, and Alex has developed it so that it's got a stronger beam, it's got a wider field to it, and I think it's absolutely brilliant.
Do you think most visually impaired people here know that this shop is here?
Well, word's getting around because I've tried to make sure it has.
What we found over the years was customers, there'd be a very disjointed path to finding this technology, let's say. So people would go to their optician, be told they had a visual condition and be referred to the hospital. They'd be diagnosed, and a lot of the time that would be it. And we'd see customers maybe 2 or 3 years on, and they'd say, I wish I'd known about this technology earlier. And so a lot of our customers now, we have people coming from the hospitals. We've got leaflets in there, and also we found opticians really recently have started recommending much more. We're online, so we still have an online shop and people can buy equipment through our website. Mm-hmm. We do visit people at home still as well, and do local exhibitions. But also we get people walking past and look in the window and go, my mum could really do with something like this. I didn't know it was available. And what we've actually found being here is that most people aren't aware of this kind of technology. For a hearing loss, for example, you would automatically go to a hearing aid. You know that's available. But for someone who's just starting to lose their sight, they'll get a magnifying glass. That's what the hospital will provide for them, but they don't know that anything else is around that's available.
Well, the customers are pouring in now. You're Jeff. Tell me a bit about yourself.
Well, I've been registered blind for many years with glaucoma, so I was registered at the age of 20 odd. So from that time, I've been keen for people to help themselves in every way they can. So I became an ECLO for 18 years. Even though I'm retired, I'm still involved in different groups. I'm also part of the Nottingham Forest Disabled Supporters Association.
Are you?
And we've got 2 or 3 blind and partially sighted supporters. So we're going to ask Alex if we can have a demonstration of the Viewpoint, which is a headset that some partially sighted people use at football matches. At the ground at the moment I use a monocular, which is hard work. You've got your arm up all the time and it's so frustrating. You're sitting there, even with a monocular, I still can't recognise the players, but yeah, sighted people nearby saying, oh, that was a handball, so they can see a little hand that pops out about 100 yards away. You know, I can't even see the player, but we just have to try anything that might help.
So this might either enable you to see it further away or bring it closer, is that the idea?
Yeah, because you can alter the focusing. You can use speech to talk to it. So you can say bigger, smaller, that sort of thing.
Right,
Yeah.
well you've come in to talk to Alex about this. I
That's
think
right,
he's just
yeah.
dealing with another customer at
Yeah.
the moment. Seems to be quite a flow of
And the good thing
customers
is,
coming in.
we can try it out. And the beauty is as well, anybody can come in here to get things altered. You know, even if you buy something and it's not working properly, or maybe you've pressed the wrong buttons or something, you can come in and he'll set it up for you, which I do occasionally for my phone if I don't know what I've pressed and I can't get emails on.
Do you come in here a fair bit?
I do float in and out because, like I say, I like to know what's happening in life and then I can tell other people as well, you know, whether it's an exhibition that's going on or any new equipment, because I've got relatives who are blind as well, so it'll give me ideas for Christmas and birthdays and that sort of thing as well.
The plan is to expand and the demand is definitely there. We really want to get the model right in Nottingham. We want to set up a network and work with the council, with the local societies, with the hospitals and opticians. It's definitely increasing. We're getting new people coming in all the time, and it's really nice to see, especially when someone's given up a bit of hope that there's anything that will help them, that they find us and we can provide something that lets them read again or gives them access to things that they thought were lost to them.
Well, now for shop number 2. We're on our way to Castle Donington. It's on the Leicestershire-Derbyshire border, and the shop is called Wanted Wardrobe, and it's run by a lady who styles herself, the blind stylist.
We actually went on a PR day in London, and one of the magazines named me that, and it's kind of stuck, and it's something that actually it's really ironic because you don't think that there could be someone that styles people that's blind.
So just tell me a bit about the shop. Wanted Wardrobe, I mean, the idea is what old people like me call second-hand, but you say pre-loved, right? I mean, tell me more about what's in the shop.
So like you say, it's mostly pre-loved. Our stock is generously donated by the public. We donate 10% of our profits to sight loss charities and do lots of fundraising. Majority is pre-loved, but we do have some new goods dotted about. It's like earrings. You can't really sell second-hand earrings.
Right. What was the thinking of doing a shop like this?
So I ran a charity retail boutique, and my business partner Victoria was saying, why don't you do your own shop? You have the knack for it, you have the love for it. And that's how it came to be. Me and Victoria set up 2 years ago, and we don't just do our pre-loved clothes anymore. We spread a lot of awareness about sight loss, and it's nice because in Castle Donington, because it's such a small village, there's, well, from what I can see, there's only me and one other person that uses a cane locally. So I started a sight loss support group, and then from starting that, I've met so many more people that actually have macular degeneration or different sight loss conditions that were too nervous to use canes and aids in public, but now they know there's people out there and we're shouting a bit more about it. They're not as nervous to use it.
Well, we will be meeting Victoria properly in a minute, but I'm just interested about how confident you were doing this as a business project. given the level of your site?
I don't think where I was when we first opened, I would have done it on my own. I would have been too frightened because I hadn't really accepted my own sight loss yet. I hadn't started using a cane. I kind of hid it away. So if it wasn't for Victoria, I wouldn't have had the confidence. Everyone needs that little push to help them along.
So what adaptations have you had to use, either for your benefit or perhaps for visually impaired people who come in? Because I gather quite a lot of visually impaired people do come in because of the publicity you've had.
Yeah, so our size cubes on the clothing are all colour coordinated.
You'll have to explain to me what size cubes are.
So in a normal shop on the high street, they put their sizing in the garment and on the brand new tag, and it's normally very inaccessible and small print. The size cubes are little cubes that go on the top of a hanger. I can give you one to actually feel.
Oh, yeah.
Got a box full of them.
Oh, yeah.
So these are size cubes.
Oh, they're like little dice, aren't they?
Yeah, a little bit like a dice, and they've got a hole in one end that's the whole of the cube, and then a small hole at the top, and they're all colour coordinated. So I can tell you that a blue is a 14, a 12 is a green. So because I can see colour, I can help someone shop just from going to the rail instead of having to hold it so close to my face to try and make out. Because most shops nowadays, everything's black and white, and it's not very accessible at all. The till system has Zoom software.
I mean, because people bring things into a shop like this, do you go through everything? And is your vision any kind of problem with that yet?
Yeah, so I go through the donations, the bags of donations, but sometimes there is things missed, so I can't see holes or marks on items, and that's where not only Victoria but my support worker comes in, where they will check things over. I tend to try and feel the garments as well, so if there is a hole or something there, I can feel that, but you can't feel stains, so that is something that someone else has to do for me.
As I understand it, in the partnership, you are the one who's kind of really interested in style and colour and so forth. Did you think originally that this was going to be something that you couldn't go on having as part of life or part of the business?
Yeah, it's a really weird thing. So for me, growing up, I've always loved clothes, I've always loved fashion, and pairing outfits together. Not to say Victoria's not stylish, because she's just as trendy and wears really nice clothes, but she brings the side to the business which is more working on the business. So she does all the bookkeeping, all the emails, all that kind of thing that I really struggle with. But yeah, I love colour and I love textures, so sequins, feathers, anything like that. I'll probably pair something that's bright blue with bright pink, whereas someone else would go, oh no, let's just wear black with that.
I also, I think, would pair bright pink with bright blue, because I'm a big colour girl as well. Does that sort of lead in a bit? Because you do colour analysis as well, don't you? So does that lend into your big love of bold colours and prints and things? You know, how does the colour analysis work that you offer customers?
So colour analysis was something we added on last year. I didn't think we could make it accessible for me, but we've adapted the whole process.
I guess we probably should explain a bit what colour analysis is, because I mean I'm familiar with it.
You have to explain it to me.
Yeah, if you can explain just what it is.
Yeah, of course. So colour analysis is the process of finding your most flattering range of colours, so the palette that suits you best. So there's spring, summer, autumn or winter, and just as you can imagine them colours, so autumnal colours, they're in the autumn palette. So you've got your mustard, your rust, your khaki. Summer is pastels and spring is neons. It's a natural extension of you from your undertone of your skin, your hair colour and your eye colour.
So with colour analysis, we've
explain
got
explain what you're doing.
We've
Okay.
got drapes. They cover your shoulders, a
Yeah.
bit like a bib.
Okay.
So this is a pine green colour, which is in the winter season.
Yeah.
With you being visually impaired, having colour analysis done is a perfect opportunity to make sure everything in your wardrobe cohesively matches.
Right.
So if it's all out of the same season, they all go together.
So the next drape I'm going to put on you is the autumn green. So this is more of an olive colour. So I've taken a photo of each of those, and then what I do is I put the four together in a collage so that I can send that to Tilly, and then she can zoom in, because otherwise she'd have to get nose to nose with each customer and she wouldn't be able to see.
But then if I do that, I'll only be able to see your eyes, not the colour.
So I just have to wait for the verdict now. Then.
Yeah, we'll have to go through the next set of colours.
Oh, we can carry on.
We brought in Victoria because what is interesting is that I think you've been the one to say to Tilly, use your cane, do that.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I think we were in London the first time I sort of insisted that she get the cane out because I felt such a huge responsibility. There's a lot going on in London, and if I forget to tell her something, I was worried she's going to fall over, and it would be really helpful to me if you could use your cane so you know what's coming.
Like Vic says, it's not just about indicating where hazards are, it's actually so much more helpful for the people that are around you that can see you can't see, so they won't be in your path and they won't walk into you, because without the cane people are walking into me and thinking I'm rude. And now it's been a year since I've started using my cane and I use it every day.
But initially, was it the fact that it's kind of symbolic? It's almost like it puts a sign on you saying I'm blind or I'm partially blind. Is that what was stopping you, or was it something else? I'm intrigued because a lot of people do react like this, I think, initially.
I met a lady who started in the fundraising department for Vista, and she walked in the room and she had a cane. The only thing I did was, oh, she's visually impaired. That's all I thought. And then that stuck with me. It's like, hold on a minute, why am I not using it? Because I was so frightened that someone would judge me. It makes me more vulnerable. It makes me look weird. It's like all these things go through your head, and it's like, oh, like, why am I being so silly? Because that's all I think when I see someone, oh, they've got a visual impairment.
This is a tricky question, and I'm sorry, but I have to ask it because your sight is deteriorating, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it has done. How are you thinking about that in terms of how the business develops?
With regards to styling, it's a hard one because, like you say, it is so visual. But touch wood, I hope I don't lose my colours, but if I do, I'll be changing it to focus on textures. And the beauty is I've got Victoria, and if I do lose so much that I can't see colour, Vic can audio describe something and then I can go off textures, and again we'll work together perfectly. After we've gone through the second phase of colours, you are...
Yes?
A winter! Ooh. So you're the same season as me.
Excellent. I shall walk out of here with a spring in my step.
Into the winter.
Yeah.
Scaffolding and skips news for the week commencing the 5th of December. In the Newport area, 1 to 8 Malthouse Court, Providence Corner Building, Pyle Street and Town Lane elevations, TUI, Post Office Lane, 19 C Street, Grays Walk, 15 to 16 Key Street and 14B Chapel Street.
In the Ryde area, St Mary's Catholic Church, 55 High Street, House of Zaber, 12 Union Street, The Star Inn, High Street, Ryde Opticians, 40 Union Street, Ex Barclays Bank, 7 High Street, 5 Weeks Road, 44 High Street, Bembridge Sailing Club, Bembridge, and the Ryde area skips, 5 Nelson Place.
In the Cowes area, the Portland Inn, Worsley Road, Gurnard, 20 Bridge Road and Carville Court, Terminus Road.
In the Ventnor area, 29 Pierce Street, Ventnor.
In the Sandown area, 52 Fitzroy Street.
And in the Yarmouth area, Old Town Hall, The Square.